Yo, welcome back to Reentry Network Podcast. It's your boy Yak.
It's your boy T.
We got another killer for you guys today, man. This one's special because this guy is 6 weeks fresh out. And we were already just having a conversation right off the bat right now before we even started. And I'm low-key tripping right now. I don't even have words to say on everything he just said is like straight facts. So with that being said, I want to introduce our boy Deon Whitmore to the podcast
In the
today,
house.
man.
How's it
In
going,
the house, 100%.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for having me, man. Excited about being here in this opportunity, man, and actually, tell my story.
100%.
Especially my experiences, not only reintegrating back into society, but also how I got to this point in my life to where I am sitting right here with you guys telling this story, man. So thank you for having me, man.
No, we love it. Thank you for taking the time to, because we know sometimes, whatever, it's a Friday, life hits, people want you to go certain places, family wants to take you out, especially being fresh out.
Yes, sir.
So we appreciate it, Likewise, the feeling is definitely mutual.
Oh, most definitely, man. Appreciate that.
I respect your professionalism too. Like right off the bat, my
Yes.
boy's looking fresh. But like the story behind it too is like, it's just you want to be able to provide and share this like image with other individuals. Like you could do it too, anybody can do it, right? But with that being said, I want to talk about kind of what brought you to you being 6 weeks out, and where it kind of all started, right? So talk to us a little bit about where you grew up and what that looked like for you.
All right, so most definitely, I grew up in South Los Angeles, right here. Probably, down out the 120s. Growing up right there, born and raised. I'm one of 7 children. My mother has 6 boys, 1 girl.
That's nuts.
6 boys,
Poor
1 girl.
6 boys,
okay.
1 girl. 6 boys, 1
That was
girl.
rough,
and
huh?
It was
Was she
it was
like
rough on
middle?
her. It was rough on her. It was easy for me.
Okay.
Easy for me, man. Like I'm a twin, so we're the middle.
That's
We're the
nuts.
middle kids right there. So I have 3 older brothers, and technically I have, since me being an older twin, I have 3 younger siblings. I have my twin, my little sister, and my baby brother.
Is this an identical twin or fraternal?
Fraternal,
Got it.
night
So
and day.
fraternal is what? That's the one that looks
Night
a little
and day,
different?
yeah, night and day, yeah. So,
Is it?
So
Okay.
I resemble my father. He resembles my mother, right? But
Gotcha.
we resemble each other to a degree, but definitely night and day.
That's crazy that can happen. It just trips me
Yeah.
out to this day. I have twins myself, twin
Yeah.
sisters. They're identical, but the
Okay.
trip out, I've seen other fraternals that like they're like, yo, way different. How does that even happen in the same womb? Like, how does that go down? Like,
I
it's
don't know
crazy.
how that works, but it's crazy because even us being night and day, we were like growing up, we still got mistaken for one another.
Really?
Like Devin, he did it. Like, nah, that was Devin for real did it. But still just being twins, you kind of we resembled each other for sure. All right, so I grew right there.
So you had both mom and dad in the picture.
No,
Okay,
no, I
what was
didn't.
that like?
So up until I was probably 4 years old, my mother was in the picture. My mother battled with addiction, and still currently do battle with addiction. So foster care came and split me and my family up when I was about 5 years old.
Wow.
That's when they first came in the picture.
Young man, you're a baby.
I was a baby. Yeah, they tried to. They came in and took us from the custody of my mothers, and I was going to custody of my grandparents. It was my grandfather. My grandfather was the primary care provider, along with my grandmother. And so, growing up in 2 worlds between my grandmother and grandfather. My grandfather was more of the strict, firm provider. My grandmother was more loving, more embracing. But one thing about it, my grandmother had a disability, so there was very little she could do. So I grew up with my grandfather's household, and it was a strict, army, military background. My grandfather
Militant type.
militant. Yeah, he was,
once
he
you
was
up,
a
making your
boy.
bed, you better-
A boy don't cry. A man is this, and I had
Yeah.
these ideas of what a man was supposed to be at 5, 6 years old. That was confusing most of the time.
So grandma and grandpa stayed in different places?
Different places, yes.
Okay.
Say that they were already divorced, but kind of having the grandkids kind of kept them together.
They had to communicate.
They had to
be a lot of
communicate. They were forced to
communication.
communicate. Yeah. So raising us. So went to the system. My brothers, so the 4 younger siblings stayed together. So now I went from being the middle child to now the oldest. I was a big brother in my household, and my other 3 older siblings were split up at
Gotcha.
another house. So I took on.
Can you recall that? Like, do you recall any of that? I know you were young, but like even that transition, can you remember any of that, or is it?
I remember because my older brother Kenyon, he was definitely leader of the pack. Whatever he said was law in our house, right? Not having my father around and my mother battling with addiction, running the streets. Like whether he realized it or not, though, like he had that influence over us. And so when Children's Service came in and split us up, like he was out the picture. And now I became the one in the household. And like I took on the responsibility early because now I felt like I had to fend and like, make decisions for my little brothers and sisters. And so I began to emulate what he did. And although most of it was negative, like I saw it as like, this is the way it go. Like my brother did it, so now I'm gonna do it. I'm the big brother in this household, so I'm gonna do exactly what he did. All right, and that's when I began searching. I began searching for this identity, who I wanted to be or who I was supposed to be. And so a lot of the times, and for a long time, I was everybody else but me. Like I hated my life. And I began to take on I took some from my brother's life, watching him, my other big brothers. And so when I was 9 years old, my brother was arrested for murder. When I was 9 years old. So not only was he not in the picture in my household, he was in the system. And that was a devastating blow to our family, the little family I did have left. And so on one hand, I lost my brother to the system, and I felt like life was it's over. And on the other hand, like my brother getting life in prison, his friends coming around accepting me. Now I had 10 big brothers. I had 10 of him. And that's how I began at such an early age, like gravitating towards this gang and a criminal lifestyle at such a young age. Right. 9 and 10 years old, my brother's friends coming around. He was 11 years older than me. So I was 9, his friends were already 20. And just being accepted by them, that was, especially at a time like that, like growing up in a household, my grandfather was kind of militant. Like he was strict and firm on us. So he believed in tough love. And then his tough love felt like hate.
Especially at that age, that's what you're going to interpret it
Especially
as.
at that age. So, and one thing I understand today, tough love is okay for someone who understands what love is. But for a kid who feels unloved and unwanted and unaccepted, tough love felt like hate. And so him trying to get through to me, it fell on deaf ears. And instead of him trying to and me opening and embracing, I began to resist him. Every time he had to say something, I thought he was going against me. And that came from a tough love. So that made it easy for me to gravitate towards the streets at such a young age, because there it was accepting. It was embracing, it was welcoming. And I felt loved. Although it didn't say it in those words, just being accepted and come on, acknowledged. Being acknowledged was a lot for me growing up. So you want that attention, not having it, for so long, and you feel like, man, I'm worthless, I'm nobody. Having that attention, man, and you don't care what kind of attention it is. That's how I was able to commit myself to this lifestyle at such a young age.
When your grandpa or your grandma seen you hanging around, or now all of a sudden, I'm assuming they noticed Big Bro's gone, you're starting to kind of hang around with the same crowd he was maybe, or at the same spots. How did that did they ever say, hey, you look like you're going down the same route as your brother? Did you ever get hit with that?
Most definitely. So my grandfather, he's seen it. He's seen it first.
Yeah, he knew a mile away what was happening, huh?
And the more he pressed, the more I backed off. So I feared him growing up. Man. His words were so powerful, man. It'll shake you. And then when I seen him fighting and trying to get through to me, I felt a sense of power. I'm like, oh, now I got your attention. The tables have turned now. Yeah. So me going to school and getting good grades, you didn't really care for that. That wasn't good enough for you. A man does this, a man does that. He put this mold of this man that I was trying so hard to be, it was impossible for me. Right, so I just gave up. He was talking about a man that I had no idea was. Nobody showed me how to be a man. And so when I made a decision that I wanted to be a gangster and following my brother's footsteps, I had his attention. And although it was a negative, I felt powerful. I'm like, oh, this is what's gonna take for get your attention. Well, you know, I'm gonna go harder now. At 12 years old, I started running away from home. I seen him stressing. I seen him trying so hard. I'd leave for days and come back, and he would yell and cuss and instead of me being in fear now I felt powerful. I'm like, yeah, I got you now. It's my turn, and I felt like that's when the shade began to shift for me in my household, and that's where me and him became at odds. And then I believe that's when he lost me, and I realized I think he knew he lost me when like the things he was saying wasn't getting through, and the fear that he did have on me, it no longer worked.
And why do you think that is? Do you think it because you were getting older and you were getting a little more seasoned with the street stuff?
It was definitely what I was being exposed to, but also not caring. Like when you stop caring, like everything was out the window, right? Yeah. And that's one of the things I did. When I started smoking weed, at first it was to fit in, but like weed became my escape. Like getting high became my escape. And like I realized, like I stopped caring. Not just about life and what my grandfather said in school. Like I stopped caring about myself. Like I dropped out in the 7th grade.
No way.
Yeah.
It wasn't like ditching. It was like I was done with school in the 7th grade. And like when I stopped caring about life, like everything else was easy for me to get through. And like being high did that for me. Like that's how I found that escape. That's how I was able to, you know, everybody who was around me trying to tell me what to do or trying to help me, I had already stopped caring. Like I accepted the fact that I was dealt this fucked up hand. Like watching my older brother going to prison at such a young age and constantly being told I'm just like him. Whether it be my grandfather or his friends, you just like your big brother. You're gonna be just like him. You know, I idolized him. So I took that as this like, okay, I'm getting somewhere. And the more I stopped caring, the more brazen my behavior became. The more I stopped caring about how I was affecting others, or even myself or my siblings or my family. Like I was set on being this person because this person, this image, this person I had built up for so long, it was he had more value than me. So it was easy to stop caring about Deon, and I began to build this persona, this person I wanted to be, the person that I had to be in order to get this attention and this love from people around me. And that's how it was easy for me to stop caring about what my grandfather said or what he did or even those who were trying to help me, because I had already made my mind made up that this is who I wanted to be because this person was worth more than me.
Isn't it a cold realization, the moment where you realize, like, no matter what my grandpa's telling me, at this point, it's just not going to affect me? Or, like you said, you have the one-up, but it's a cold realization when you get to that point where you're like, I feared them before, and just now, for some reason, none of that matters, right? You kind of know you're about to get into this whole different era of your life, you know?
Most definitely.
Did you feel like you wanted to be better than your brother?
That was the goal.
That was the goal, huh?
That was the goal. You know, it's like hearing it so long growing up by his friends too. And these were 20-year-old guys hanging with an 11-year-old, right? And to hear them say, like, man, you just like your brother, I'm like, well, I got a chance to be better than him. You know, so it's like, my brother started, you know, banging at 16, 17 years old. That was late. You know, he started kind of late. I can do way more than him. So let me start at 11 and 12. So at 12 years old, I knew right there I was ahead of him. Like, well, my brother started at 16, 17. He wasn't running away like me. He was going home. He wasn't selling drugs at this age. Like, he didn't carry guns like at my age. So I already felt like I was gonna do better. I was gonna surpass him. The point, like, and that was part of me looking for my own identity. Like, I was accepted being him. Like, you just like your brother. But it's like, well, damn, what about me? So now here it is. I'm fighting against the same person I idolized because, I don't want to be me. So how can they accept me from just me? Not because of my brother. Because I came in, they accepted me because I was his little brother. And they was looking out for me because, hey, man, you Kenyan little brother. You have to be little brother. We're going to look out for you. But I want them to accept me for me. And so with that came me trying to be better than him.
That makes sense. So you said you also started doing, like, at that age you already had involvement in selling drugs, guns, and stuff like that. Did you feel you put that role on yourself, or did you feel like that role was pushed onto you to be better, to
That
start
was
participating in all that?
oh that's what came with the lifestyle.
Hmm.
Like when you sign up and you commit it, like those are the rewards that come with it. The guns and the drugs. Like this is how you not only get by, but this is how you like you get somewhere in life. The drugs would get me about the hood. Like I'd never be broke. I would escape poverty. I'd be the neighborhood baller. Like that's what the appeal that drugs came in. The guns, that's where the respect part came in. Like if you want respect in these streets, they gotta fear you. And me growing up, fat, light skinned, jolly kid, like things even didn't change when I began having a gun. Like I knew for sure, like if you didn't fear me, you was gonna respect me for sure. Because you knew what I was willing to do with this gun. And so they just kind of like went hand in hand. So it's definitely something I placed on myself. But also, man, I was striving to be the best in this game. Like I wanted to go far. I wanted to be somebody. And that's what came with it.
And so having chopped it up previously, you carried that out to a T because you didn't even last that long. You went so hard that you only lasted a couple years before you caught a case that ended up getting you serving 23 years, right?
Most definitely. So it's just as fast as I began, as fast as my downward spiral began as well.
Right? When you're going that hard, those are the type of outcomes, right?
Most definitely. There's no other way out, right? So it's one of those like 12 years old when I started, right? Everything was fast paced. So some people are like, man, he got off the porch. It's like, nah, I jumped off the porch onto the fast lane. Like I was already, like everything had to be now, right? And I began going to juvenile halls, right? I went to juvenile hall when I was right after my 14th birthday. And that was the ultimate test right there. That was the make or break moment. Go to the juvenile halls, like see what you really about, see if you can really handle that.
Definitely, yeah.
So going through it, it was scary, but I made it through it. And like, oh wait, that's not that bad. So if I sell drugs, carry guns, jail is an option for me. Well, you know what? Jail is not that bad. You go in there, you chill out, hang out, do the time, you come back. Yeah. And so when I went in, I didn't take it serious. Like I wasn't trying to take it serious either. Like I knew, like once I began going to juvenile hall, I realized I could do it. Like, so when I signed up, my options was death or jail. That's the only way that is the only way out of this game. And a part of me felt like, well, if I go to jail, I won. I beat the odds. Like I didn't die. So at 15 years old, I ended up murdering a young man for the color of the shoes he wore. Like no questions. And I was sentenced to 100 years with multiple life sentences in prison. And I ended up found myself in prison at 16 years old with multiple life sentences.
So if you can, that is that's insane, man. That again, that's one of those stories where it's like it's unfortunate. You know, a lot of people again at that time you're not really psychoanalyzing these things, but you don't realize like it's all a game at that age, right? Because nothing seems real. Everything's fast. Your days seem like they last forever. You feel like you're gonna live forever, but you don't realize like, holy shit, this is eventually gonna give me these football numbers, and you don't even know what those mean until you're 10, 15 years in, and you're like, this is what a life sentence is, you know? Wow. Take us. What was going on through your head at the time of, and maybe you can even touch a little bit about the lead up to that, like overview of what happened, kind of whatever, if you want, if you can, and if not, just the whole transition of what it means to be 15 probably at the time in a court, having grandma and grandpa, all your brothers. What happened to the other brother? Is he about it? Is the same thing that happened to the oldest one about to happen to you? You know.
Most definitely. So. You hit on it right now too. At 15 years old, right when I got that sentence, like it took 7 years for me to understand like what life was, right? So when I was sentenced to those football numbers, like my life was taken away, it was over. I was sentenced to die in prison. Like I didn't understand it, like I didn't even accept it, because here it was like you gave me life in prison. I didn't know what life was. so it didn't hit me.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't understand, like, when you say life in prison, like forever, like I'm gonna die, but I didn't know what life was. So it took several years into my incarceration for it to hit me. And I was like 22 when I woke up and realized, like, damn, I might never go home. Like, that's when it started to hit me.
7 years later, huh?
7 years, I was 22 years old when I woke up, and I don't know what happened. It was just one of those, like, hey, you got life in prison. Like, life? Like, I had so many answers. I had so many questions. Like it's over. Like, that's when it began to hit me.
Does this really mean forever?
But it started. So me getting to that point in that courtroom. I was shot a week prior. They came by. It was a gang war. They shot the park up. So me and my twin brother was shot, along with several other people. And an older friend was killed, was murdered. And I knew that one, like, laying on that ground, man, like crying, scared that I'd die. Like, it challenged everything I had, like, up until that point that I had committed myself to. Now it's like, when I was on that ground crying, I told myself, like, well, if it's over for you, like, man, like, you're nobody, you're nothing. So, like, I pumped myself. I told myself I had to do this. Like, there was no going back. But not only that, though, like, this was a chance for me to, like, be my own person.
Make a name for
myself. Like, this is my moment right here.
Not in no positive way. We're talking
not in a positive way. Like, this lifestyle I'm committed to, and if you think I'm like my brother, I'm about to show you I'm me. And I knew that, like, going back over there retaliating was my moment. Gotcha. So 2 days after the hospital, I was already searching. I was looking for my moment.
And your brother was hit too? How
my
did
twin brother.
Twins at that, man. How does that? And this is a sidebar question. Did you feel anything crazy at that moment with the twin? You know, they say there's some synergy going on.
Yeah, it was definitely like, me getting shot is something I, like, kind of expected, right? Like I had an idea it can happen, but seeing my twin brother shot, man, like me being an older twin, my brother followed me all our life. 3 minutes older than me. Like, I remember when I was 9 years old, the first time I got high, like, I passed it to my twin brother. When I began running away from home, like, he ran with me. And when we joined the gang, like, it was me who did it first. And he followed. So seeing my twin brother right there bleeding, crying, like, I felt like it was my fault. Like, damn, I gotta do something. Like, my wound is whatever, but they got my twin brother. And a part of me felt responsible because, like I said, in my household, I was the big brother. Like, I was supposed to watch over him and watch after him. And here it was, he got shot. So it was, like, even more reason for me to go do it.
Right.
Not only did you shoot me and you challenging this whole lifestyle that I've had built up, this image. Now here's, you got my brother too.
Right.
And if I don't do it for myself, I gotta do it for him. And that's something I took on. And so when you asked about, like, how was it, like, having that twin brother, like that was the hard part. Because, like, whether I wanted to do it or not, though, my twin brother getting hurt made me feel like I had to do it.
Right.
I had to go revenge this. And that's how, like, it came to the point where on July 3rd, 2000, I made a decision to get in the car that day with every intention on killing someone. And, like, I didn't care who that someone was.
14 years old?
Say it again?
13, 14 years old?
I was 15 years old.
15 already?
I was 15 years old when I got in that car that day, and there was no going back.
Not with your brother either. It's just you on your own.
So I had co-defendants. It was another 15-year-old with me. One of my best friends who grew up with me across the street. We got in that car together, and with every intention on going. And going back wasn't an option, and, like, the idea of getting caught was something even I thought about.
Not even a thought.
It was like, who get caught? You know, if I do get caught, well, you just go to jail. Like, it ain't that bad. I've been to jail before. Yeah. Now understanding, like, nah. Like, everything about this is wrong and different.
Correct.
Like, I understand, like, you know, in that moment, I was impulsive. Like, I was mad in that moment. I didn't think about no consequences. And that's how I was able to get in that car. And when I seen him with some blue shoes, that's all it triggered. I didn't need to ask any questions. So growing up my life, you know, it was us against them. Like I didn't see a young man who was a father and brother, excuse me, who was a brother who happened to be standing with his father. Like I didn't ask any questions. Like since it was us against him, somehow his life was meant less than mine. I didn't see him as a human.
Yeah.
He was an opposition. He was a
Right.
rival. He was the other side. And for that, like for those reasons, I was justified in doing what I'm about to do.
Crazy what that age makes you come to terms with and think that it's normal, it's the norm, it's something like you said, like you're obligated. You feel this weight on you at that age, and you think this is what it is.
Most definitely.
Man, okay, so 15 years old, and this is kind of like a typical thing, right? Like you mentioned earlier, they always say, what's the outcome? Gangbang,
Right.
dead or in jail. People don't believe it. The youngsters don't want it. They want to feel it themselves.
Yeah.
And here you are. You've probably heard it a bunch of times from grandpa and everything, and now they told you what the outcome was, and now you yourself are experiencing the outcome of what that lifestyle entails, right?
Most definitely.
Where did that? Okay, so did you get busted right away?
Yes, I was caught 2 minutes after the crime.
2 minutes,
Really?
man.
That's
The
way
cops
too
are
fast.
the cops are right there. The cops were right there. Heard the shooting. As we drove past them, they followed us. So it was I didn't. So they say like, how did you feel? Right.
I was
for
gonna
so
ask that,
long.
yeah.
How did you feel like knowing you murdered someone? And like I didn't process it because like here it is. Well, I went from murdering someone to being apprehended by the law, and now I'm going to prison. And so it went from the assailant, the perpetrator, to now I'm a victim. Well, the system worked me. They got me. They telling on me. Like I went in a straight blame game and denial. So I never even processed like the life I destroyed or the family I ruined. Like it didn't hit me. I didn't get a chance to sit back and think about what I'd done and how it affected anyone, because I went from that to immediately playing the victim. Well, they shot me. Well, this will come with the lifestyle. He shouldn't have been standing out there. I went into denial for so many years to where I couldn't even say his name because it wasn't about him. Like they wrong, I was wronged, and that's how I spent the first 7-8 years of my incarceration, blaming everyone for my problems but me.
It's crazy you said that because that's something
Yeah.
another person said on here too. Like you just consistently keep blaming everybody else and not really think about yourself. When you realize like what you just did, a life was hurt. If not, now it's gone, a soul, right?
Yeah.
So it's just crazy and that's like part of the maturing process. That's where we become a mature
100%.
person.
Yeah.
Once you realize that, I feel that is like, all right, now you're mature. Now you're getting there. But before all that, you're still learning. I mean, and you were young. You were very young. So to be able to identify that, like right off the bat, that'd be very hard. It's not easy for most,
Right,
Most
because that's why you're in the situation you are
Mm-hmm.
then. The thought process isn't there at that
Very
age. That's
different.
just
Oh,
what
most
it is.
definitely.
It's a chemical thing, a chemical imbalance or whatever,
100%.
That doesn't happen. So like you said, I tell people, I tell even my kids, you're not going to believe it now, but watch when you hit 20, there is going to be a night and day switch.
Something's
and
gonna
it's
tell you
just
about
something switches on you and you act there. Now you're an adult, and you start thinking different. Like this is an internal switch. You don't really, lucky you've had time to identify things and certain factors and work on it. But most people out here, they probably don't get these lights turned on till 30, 35,
When
So-
it's a lifetime has went by.
Man, that
and,
part.
And that's definitely something I experienced, man, like the maturity part.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so now here it is. You going through the system, right? I went to the prison at 16 years old. I skipped the whole YA thing. I was tried as an adult and unfit.
That's
So,
so fast. Like,
Straight to
is
prison at
super
16
fast.
years old,
Fast.
right? And
So during the court thing, you never had action. There was never a thought of going home or anything like that. You just kind of knew where it was going.
my first court date, I told my lawyer, and his name was James P. Cooper, and he said, "Do you know what you just did?"
Oh man.
And I was like, what you mean? He said, "Do you understand like why you here?" And I said, "See if they give me 25 years." He says, like son, it don't work like that. And I remember one of my older homies telling me, like, man, go in there, ask for 25 years, man. Like, they gonna give it to you, and just go do your time. And he said it. This is what I looked up to. So when he said it, I believed him. Okay, take these 25 years, just start my time. Hurry up, get your time going, man. Homie's waiting for you. Like, you're going to be good.
You're going to be young when you get out.
You're going to be young when you get out, man. You're going to go in there. Homie's already deep in there. They're going to take care of you. You ain't got nothing to worry about. And so I remember my first arraignment. I asked the lawyer, I said, man, I need 25 years. And he stepped back and looked at me like, I don't think you understand what you just did. And I was puzzled because here it was. I was asking for 25. I said, give me 25. I'll take the 25 years right now. He said, you about to get life in prison. You. This is not about you having a choice or an option. Like, there's laws to follow by, and like, you murder someone.
At that point, when he said life, did you even what happened? Did your thought even process that? Did your brain even process that at the moment?
I couldn't begin to think what life was.
Right, you're like
you
okay,
didn't know what that was in numbers.
Like, I heard him saying it, but I'm like, life, like, it wasn't clicking. Like, you telling me life, but like, what life?
Yeah,
that
life 10 years? Right. Do you mean 10 years?
Yeah, it don't sound
20?
right. It don't register with me. I'm like, life, when you say life in prison, are you talking about till I'm 25 years old life?
It's crazy you say that, because even when I first heard the word life, is not someone that's really that when I first started working into this like with this demographic.
Yeah.
When I first heard life, I thought, nah, life, like, there's no way
no one's
they're
serving
setting
life.
someone's
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Like, come on now. But now knowing that shit's actually real is fucking crazy. Like, there are people that are actually going for life. So I can't imagine how you were feeling at that time.
Yeah, you're confused. I'm feeling lost, confused. Like, that whole justice system was a blur, right? So as a 15-year-old going through it, like, I was just going through the motion. I couldn't tell you anything, right? So it really was a blur. So we talking about life and enhancements and sentences, right? And he said multiple life sentences. I didn't wrap my mind around that.
Did you get a gang enhancement?
Got gang enhancements as well.
So that at the time too was the gang enhancements alone. Dudes were getting caught for a gun and getting 10 years plus just off a gang enhancement alone.
For that too, right? So it's like, you give me like you're getting life for this, and you get life for that. It's like, you don't believe it's real, because like, how do you give me 3 life sentences?
Right.
Like,
That's
I can't
impossible.
It's impossible. Like, this shit got to be made up. Like, something's wrong with this. Like, it don't make no sense, right? Like, you can't give me 3 life sentences. I'm only gonna live one life.
Right.
That part,
And
bro.
so the confusion only intensifies. Like, so the whole legal process was something I had no involvement in.
Oh, really? Okay.
I just showed up. Like, I couldn't process what was being said or going on around me.
So during prelim, all that, you still weren't able to kind of get what was happening. You basically ended up somewhere to a point where they're like, this is a day, either trial or take a deal.
So it got to the point there were no deals on the table. There were no deals.
Damn.
Deals wasn't even an option. So it just got to a point, like you said right now, you go until the date came when it's like, you're being sentenced. And it's like, sentenced. Like, yeah, you're being sentenced next week. And I'm like, well, it's over already.
Right.
And it's just like, that's where the end part came, and the next journey began. Like, it's over next week. Yeah, you get your sentence next week, and you'll be going to prison. Well, damn.
Were there any other cellies you were talking to about it? Like, oh, and they weren't tripping about, like, damn, you're moving fast, or like, oh, this is going, like, did anybody say anything around
No,
you?
so being a juvenile in the system, you're surrounded by nothing but juveniles.
I was gonna say that's a
Yeah,
cold
so-
part. You're not even with adults that may have legal beagles
Yeah,
or
you're
none of
separated.
that.
Yeah, you're separated. There's no legal beagles, right? So you're oblivious to the legal process and what's about to happen. So, going in, so it's 15 and 17-year-olds together, right? Even though we're in the adult institutions, whether it be in the county jail and prison, it's just us. So most of the interaction we have, whether on a bus or on the yard or in buildings walking past. So you never have a chance to kind of like sit down and discuss what's going on, because the flip side of that is like, don't talk about what you're in jail for.
Oh man, yeah.
Don't talk about your case. So now you're even more distant. So if you was gonna look for help, that wasn't an option. Like prison, that's one. Don't talk about your case. People be telling it here, like, don't tell me what you're here for, what you did. You just go through it. So now, asking the question isn't an option. So now I have to take all this on by myself. And being sentenced to prison was like, okay, this is the end, but the beginning of this next lifestyle that I have to go through. Like, 'cause prison was something I had to go through. Like I still had like even though coming to prison for being arrested for murder, like, I still had this ideal of this person I wanted to be. Like none of that changed. The low self-esteem, the feeling unworthy, not feeling valued. That person never went anywhere.
Oh man.
So now going to the system, being sentenced to prison. Now here it is. Okay, now I have to be somebody. Now, like how do I fit in with this group now? I'm 16 years old. Will they accept me? Well, you know what? You gotta talk like this. You gotta act like this. You gotta think like this. Like everything was something that wasn't me. But I understood it was survival now. Now this was me being in a situation where I had to be somebody else.
Right.
So the ideal of thinking or, trying to understand what was going on was out the door. Like I was 16-year-old headed to prison. I want to understand like how can I make it?
That's what's tripping out right now. Like you're getting out. You're hopping off that bus. You're 16. Do you look 16?
I look every bit of 16.
Really?
And what's everybody thinking around you? Like you're with others now already. You're with older crowd. You're with grown men. Nothing that you're not used to, because let's be real, you're already with grown men hanging out.
Yeah.
But even them seeing someone as young as you in there, what is that? Was there any difference? Like, would you feel like there was different treatment or anything like that?
It was I remember these kind of feelings played out over my life throughout the years, right? I remember like my brother getting life in prison, like feeling alone and scared of being by myself. I remember his friends coming and embracing me. Like I felt welcome, man. Like I felt loved. And like that's the same thing going to prison. Here I was, like lost and scared, unsure who I was. And then you get to a prison yard, and then homies come save you. You hit a prison yard, and like whatever gang you align yourself with, they're there to embrace you, to make you feel like one of them.
Yeah.
And so those fears and doubts and unlove, now that I'm in prison, it went away the second they embraced me. I was like, well, damn, I am one of them now. Just how I felt when I was 12 years old and my brother's friends embraced me. When he went to jail, now here I was in prison.
Same thing.
Same thing, same feelings. They felt those same voids and insecurities that I had. And like, that's how easy for me to fall in line. And not only that though, now here it is like, well, I know your brother. Or I know you come from, I know some of your homies. And like, well, damn, now I feel out of place. Now I feel like I belong. The life sentence, that's whatever. These guys accept me. I'm one of them. And like, that's what made my transition into prison, like, easy for me. Because here it was, like, I felt like I belonged here. Like I say, dead or in jail was an option I knew when I signed up. And a part of me felt like I won. Like, I defied the odds. I didn't die, so I beat the system. I ended up in jail. I'm still living. Like, I'm still a homie. They still embracing me. I still feel loved. People are still here for me. And so being like the youngest guy on a prison yard, you get attention. Everybody around you, whether they're protecting you or trying to mislead you, but they're there.
And it's crazy that there's no line. The lines are blurred there. If they're trying to protect you, if they're trying to influence you or get you under their wing to do things, and right, you can't decipher that when you're fresh and you're new and
Most
you're barely
definitely.
picking up game and you're trying to figure things out yourself.
Most definitely. That's just what it is too.
Yeah.
So, part of you felt like, is he trying to help me? Or this might hurt me? Like that thought always there, but it's like, but having his attention mean everything. Like being accepted mean everything. And so you begin to kind of like push that to the side. Well, why would I have to have a knife? Like something about to happen? Well, you need to keep a knife on you or hold this. Is that helping me or hurting me? And so you kind of like push those things to the side. The things that make sense or, it make you question things, you learn fast in prison. Like those are the things you kind of like, you got to dead. If
You're right, man.
you got like any kind of conscience in prison or in its lifestyle, you have to dead that fast. Like, so one, like feeling any kind of way about someone, something you can't feel. Like if the homie out of pocket, you got to get him. And so any kind of feelings of, sadness or sorrow for him or just, oh man, caring, you got to dead that. Like that can jeopardize like your livelihood, also the person you're trying to be, but also it's not a part of survival. Yeah. So a lot of those feelings I did have growing in, like you question it. And that was me, man. Growing up, I always questioned things. But also, too, I silenced myself because I knew, like, me asking these questions, they might not accept me. They may not welcome me. They may look at me different. And so you just find yourself being silent and kind of like going along with the masses. Whatever the majority say, I'm with it. Like, you stop thinking for yourself in that system.
Super important. I'm glad you touched on that because that is a reality for like 99% of folks in there. It isn't until like you do 10, 12 years or you're at the end where you start snapping and you're like, you know what, I can just do my time. But the thickness of that brainwashing and the characteristics of that place and the kind of mode of expression that you have to follow is real thick. So you feel like you really have to, especially being young, you're like, I can't let no one question my, like you said, if I'm a little caring, I can't have them question like, why is this dude showing any type of love? Why is he? And you start thinking these things, and it creates kind of like this culture. That's part of the prison culture.
Most definitely, man. That's where the this toxic masculinity comes from.
There you go. Yeah.
It's like, like in order to be accepted, like you gotta like show no feelings, like you gotta dead those things, but it's like it's accepted. Within this prison culture, and that's where you find yourself. You forget who exactly. You forget any sign of humanity. Yeah. You become just another person walking, and like after years of conditioning, it's easy for you to walk around with a scowl on your face. You mad all the time. Your first response is action. Like it's anger. I'm mad, fight, hurt, violence. Like those things become more of a possibility when you begin to like detach and disassociate from a human being. And in prison, like that's what it is. Like the second you stop feeling and caring, you find yourself being accepted by the majority because now you're part of a bigger culture and society. And if you want to thrive in a society, then you do what a society do. And that shows not caring, mad, anger, flashing, like all these emotions, right? Toxic masculinity, right? And that's what I found myself doing. It was easy for me to stop caring and just get in line. But I realized like when I was in that lifestyle, like thinking wasn't an option. Like you gotta let all that go. Any sense of self is out the window. Like they have this mold of who you're supposed to be going to the system. You part of a gang. You're supposed to act out in violence. Any kind of disagreement. This is how you do. Everything has a way to handle it. Somebody look at you wrong, you press them. Somebody call you out your name, you hurt them. So that's the person you become. That person willing to talk it out or care or try to get some understanding. That person is dead. Like that person has no place in this culture. And that's what you see growing into coming to the system at such a young age. Like I was learning to become this person because like this is my only example of what a man was supposed to be, what I thought what a man was.
Yeah.
And so I just adapted. So coming to prison at 16 years old, I found myself looking to adapt. Okay, well, in order to make it in here, I had to be like this. And for so long, that's the person I wanted to be. So I found myself right now. I never told anyone back then, right? Or even inside. Like I would watch everyone. Like I was like being so young, only thing you have on your side is, don't talk, listen more. So, but me, I watched more. I paid attention to opposite. Like I was very observant, and like I would take something from everyone around me and try to make this person I want to be. All right, so we started off mentioning like you don't know if they're trying to hurt you or help you, but that's something you can't even think about. So, man, he kind of hard, but I see how it works for him. So let me try to take a little bit of that. So it's something you're willing to compromise. Everything's you're willing to compromise everything in there in order to make it or be accepted. And that's what I found myself doing for so many years.
And I love the fact that we touched on it before that then you realize, sometime along that journey, like what a man is and like, you know what? If I don't want to play handball, I could play. I love to play chess. Right. And when you stand on that, that's when you realize, oh, okay, this is what it means to, where you're not influenced no more. You don't have to adhere to this image no more. That's when you start like, okay, it takes more balls to stand on you and what you want to be and who you really are than it is to follow the herd, you know?
Oh yeah.
Right? That's a lot harder to do.
You know, like that's something that doesn't come with age though. That's one thing I learned. Like
Really?
it's not about age.
Okay.
You know, I say like, man, you
That's
once you get 30 years old, man, you kind of grow out of it. And I'm like, okay, but why are there 50-year-olds still involved?
right.
I was like, well, why are there dudes twice my age who can't let it go?
Because if it was that way, everybody would be going crazy now until 30.
Yeah, you like okay,
Like-
if like just think about
That's
this
true,
lifestyle.
that's true.
There's no expiration on it.
That part.
So it's like once you sign up, for some reason, it's just like this is life. So this decision I made when I was 12 years old, and now I'm 30 years old. You telling me I'm still like I don't even think the same, but I'm committed, and for those reasons, I'm still moving and acting like that 12-year-old.
Isn't
So
that
that's why you
cold,
see
huh?
dudes, 56 years old, not only inside, but also in prison, stuck, trapped, because you can't let it go. So that realization doesn't come with age. It comes with most of the time experience.
Or a traumatic experience at that.
And
you know?
unfortunately, it's like it's oftentimes it's traumatic. Something has to happen for you to get it.
Yeah.
Before you just wake up one day and just like what am I doing with my life? And I'm a creative writer, right? And that's one of the things I do with narrative therapy.
Okay.
And it's something I was able to like kind of tell my story with, right? And so I kind of take my lived experiences and share them just in a creative form. And one of the things I recently wrote, but it kind of like this dude said something that solidified, like made me really understand like what I was doing was right. I met a dude who was 62. He told me to still sue woo. And I was ashamed, sad, and scared because he said, if I don't change, then I'm just a reflection of you. And here it was, a 6-year-old man who accepted that fact like I'm fucked up.
At 60 years
At
old.
60 years old, he said, man, this is my life. I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. But if you, you don't gotta do it. And I thought to myself, like, damn. Like, here it was, he accepted his fate. He accepted, like, this was him. But the knowledge in that came from, like, look, man, if you think you're gonna keep going, you're gonna be just like me.
You're looking at a mirror, bro.
You're looking at a mirror.
Man, yeah.
And that's what it hit me. I say, damn. And I thought about like I still carry that what he said to me to this day. And I was like, you know what? That man was 62. Like, I don't have to go that far, that long before I get it. And it sat with me, man, and it really made everything I was doing more like meaningful.
Yeah.
You like you say, man, you get the balls to stand on your own too. You're like, you know what? If I don't, I'm end up just like that.
Yeah.
So it becomes a point where you're like, look, it's scary to stand on your own too when you've never done it.
That's important, man. I never thought about it from that angle. That's the problem, right? When you've never done it, it's that much harder. I think that's super deep, man. I never thought about it that way. That's why it's so hard, because we've never done it. We're not accustomed to it,
It's not our understanding of what a man is, like that's not what come with it. Like, a man's on his own too. His own too. I got the homies with me. What you mean? I got my brothers with me. What you mean own too? Like a man think for himself. Nah, like these are rules.
It's crazy you say it that way, because I was just thinking the other day too. Like, when people come and tell me, like, why are people like that? Like, because I'll be honest, like, I'm also surrounded by some haters in the work I do, and then those are the people I don't talk to.
Yeah.
Mike, think about it. You grew up in a spot when you grew up somewhere where this is the only thing they know. This is the only thing that the community knows. How to survive and how to hustle and all that. Nothing else. They can't even watch TV to see something that gives them a different idea, because they never been there. They can't leave the zip code because they don't have a car. Moms, dads are at home. They don't work. They don't have a car. They can't leave the zip code. They're too young. The boys don't have cars. All they know is that life. If they had the opportunity to learn something else, yes, they would know there's a different kind of livelihood.
Most definitely.
I'm like, so imagine that. That's all you fucking know. You're gonna obviously follow those footsteps of everybody else around you.
Yeah.
They don't know it's good. They don't know it's bad. They think it's good. They may think like this is a normal lifestyle. Like, this is normal. I'm sure everybody else does this.
Yeah, you're 100% right. You get the outliers, and people like to use them as an example.
Yeah.
But what good is the outlier if it's 1 in 20? You know, so
Yeah.
that means we got to work on the 19 first before we give the exception to the one that got out. More power to them. Everyone's different. Everyone grows up different.
Most definitely.
But, you know, not everyone has the same brain power to say, no, I'm going to go this route. You know?
Yeah, and that's the hard part, man. And you realize standing your own too, man, is terrifying, man. Like especially when you have no idea what it is, it's terrifying. Like not thinking for yourself, you know, or being told how to feel and how to respond and react.
Right.
So anything you feel or think later on down the line, it's just like you feel like you're going against everything.
Yeah.
You feel like an outcast.
Wow.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go talk to him instead of trying to fight him. And it's like you find yourself, I gotta follow my pride. You like it's hard to do it because like you don't understand not only what a man is, but stand on your own too. Like it's something impossible, right? And so, like, come to a point in my life where I realized, like, as scary as it may is or feel for me, like I know I have to do it. If not, like you said, I'm just follow the herd. And it's like it's something. It's a hell of a feeling to sit back and watch. Like, damn man, we about to walk off the cliff. But people keep walking.
Keep walking. That's
And it's
cold.
like the system is designed to break you. It's gonna make you or break you. And if you go into the system, man, your ideal is nothing different from when you came in, you're just gonna keep on that. You're gonna stay along with the herd. And that's scary because dudes are dying in there. You be like, you coming in at 18 years old, leaving at 60 in a casket though. And so you start thinking like, damn, this herd isn't really like, something's wrong with this. And then that's when like you start having those little doubts. Like, nah, man, like, but if I jump out the line, like then where I'm gonna go? Then what I'm gonna do? And you know, it's like you can look, you know, a mile in front of you and behind you, and you might only see one trickle out the line. And it's like, well, damn, now I'm by myself all over again. Those feelings come back up. Those same feelings that made me turn to the gang and the lifestyle, feeling alone and abandoned, low self-esteem. The second you step out the line of the herd in the system, they pop back up. But now you are, you're 20, 30, 40 years old. And you're not sure who you are, where you're going, what you're supposed to do. But it's like,
shot.
so now you by yourself. But you understand, like, if I stay in line right there, like, I'm gonna walk off the cliff. And like, I was fortunate enough, like seeing my twin brother go home. Like seeing my twin brother who followed me all his life, our life. And like I felt he was in prison because of me. Like somehow I could have changed.
So maybe let's jump into that a little bit,
Yeah.
right? You did have a brother that you mentioned that got life when you were 9 years
When
old.
I was 9 years old.
And then your twin also ended up going to prison. And then you mentioned also this was off camera. Pretty much all your brothers, all the boys, kind of pretty much, right?
My mother has six boys, 1 girl. 5 of the boys were all in the system at one time together.
So okay, so talk to us about that. How was that not being with them, and then the moment where you realize, holy shit, I'm going to this prison, and they're all there, or how they, you know, that timeline of how we all ended up 5 deep on a yard. That's all family, all same last name. How crazy is that?
That was a shock, especially going through the system, right? So I remember my oldest brother at another prison. I had the opportunity to be transferred over there, and I remember like I was waiting for that day. Like I was so excited, man, to be with my brother. Like I hadn't seen him since I was 9 years old. And
So this was a lifer you were trying to
It's
get
a life,
with.
my
Okay.
life for Big Brother. Yeah, my brother was in for life.
Did you talk to the counselor and you were kind of pitching it to them? How did that happen? Because
So,
sometimes it's hard to get
Yeah,
into
so
them.
it was one of those, like, you know, openings came up. Hey, this prison is open. Like, you're for transfer. So pick 2 prisons. And I'm like, hey, man, I was scared to say my brother was there because I didn't want to not go there, right? So come pick this my first pick and you get a second pick. And so I picked Calipatria and Centinela. And Norman Brothers at Calipatria, like I was joyful. I was like, man, look, if I get there, man, this is going. I've been waiting for this day. I remember, getting that ticket in the institution mail. Like, hey, you're gonna transfer to Calipatria next week.
Damn.
And I was just like I was happy. Like, I was genuinely happy. Like, here it is. I'm gonna go see my brother again.
Yeah.
Not even like taking into account that you're like happy. You're going to probably a level 4. You're still young. You're like, that wasn't, you're just like, my brother's there. That's all that matters.
None of that mattered. You know, it's like, it was just the fact, like, I was happy knowing I was going to be with him.
Damn.
Like, I'm going to be with him again. Like, everything that's going around me, that's what comes with the game. I can deal with this. But knowing my brother was there, I was happy. And I remember, like, this was like one of the, like a moment for me. I remember, like, we talk about this too. I remember, like, getting to the prison. And then, as happy as I was to be with him, as sad as he was just as sad.
Oh, man.
And I remember like running to him, brother, what's like excited? Hey, what's up? Like, how you doing? Like, I love you. And I remember him like, damn. Like, what the fuck you doing here?
That's what he told you, huh?
Nuts,
Yeah, like it was like the look on his face said it all.
Damn.
Like I approached him, open arms, smiling, laughing, happy. And I remember him standing there looking at me like, damn. Like, and I realized then, like, he realized, like, damn, I fucked up. Like, here it is, my little brothers. You know, like, he's 11 years older than me. So he really took care of me, took care of us. And the feeling on his face was like, and I was puzzled. I said, damn, why you looking at me like that? Like, why you not happy?
Right,
why
right.
he not smiling? Why he not excited like me? And I realized, like, my brother, and like he told me later on, like he realized that's when he fucked up. He realized, like, damn, man, like I fucked up. Like my brother, like my little brother is in prison with me, with life.
Just like me.
Just like me.
Yeah.
And not only that, like he like going through that, he began to realize, like, damn, like he never asked to be a father. He never wanted to take on this responsibility of being a big brother or trying to guide us. You know, he was too busy involved and committed to this lifestyle. But I remember him telling me, like, he realized, like, he didn't understand the influence he had. And if he would have known, like this is how it's going to turn out, like, he would have did a whole lot better. But it was too late at that point, you know, with all his little brothers in prison. But it was a sad moment, man, like being around him, and he didn't share that same joy as me. And like it was a total opposite for him. He fell in a state of depression. You know, he was trying to, you know, wrap his mind around the fact, like, how do I help him? And so as a big brother, his thing was, you know what, man, I'm gonna protect him. Like, I'm gonna watch over him. I'm gonna keep him out of shit. And if it wasn't for my big brother being around me and me and my twin brother, we would have crashed a long time ago. But the second we got a chance to do something out of, hey, like he was there like a big brother. Like, no, like that's not happening. Hey man, like what are you doing? Yeah. Like he was there to question us, and having that, like being an older brother and having that influence over us, it's like we respected it still. Like,
so real quick, how long did you last with just the older brother, and then your twin comes in?
So I was with my oldest brother for a year, and then my twin brother came.
So now it's 3 of you guys.
So now it's my oldest brother and me and my twin brother. A year later. So now he watching over not only me, he watching over both of us now.
Oh, man.
We were 20 years old, fresh into the system, still looking for a way, still committed to this lifestyle. He was 31.
So how much time did he already have in by the time you guys
He
crossed paths?
By the time we crossed paths, he had 10 years in the system.
Damn, 10
He was
years
in the
already.
system, 10 years, he was in the system 10 years by the time I saw him.
He was probably realizing at that point, like, fuck, this is life. Same situation, too. Like, does this mean life? Like,
yeah, so he
and
went
then
in.
he sees you guys.
He went in, you know, it was just him. And for years, he kind of like got by. But now, here it is, he having little brothers coming to the system. So his level of understanding is different now because a traumatic event, like you said, it usually takes a traumatic event for us to understand it. Yeah. And that traumatic event for him was me getting life in prison. And my other brother coming to prison. Like, that's what it took for him to understand, like, damn, what did I do?
I set it off.
Like how did they get there? Like, you know, he had all these questions for us that we didn't have the answers for. So he began to understand, like, damn, like we joined the same gang. I took on the same moniker. And it was like,
so is it like a family of Tiny and Baby and all same name?
So it's not that kind because we all like, outside of my oldest brother, the other of us are like in a cluster, right? But it's like the same street, the same crew,
Got you, man.
the same identity, the same way we carry ourselves. Like everything is the same through the brothers. Like we all carry ourselves like this. We do this, we do that. We move as a unit still to the day. But it's like it was more of that we took on. Like them brothers just like this. They stick together like this. Like to get through them, it's like this. You mess with one, you mess with all of them. Like we still had that same kind of mentality to the day. But like that traumatic event happened for him, and that was him seeing his little brothers in prison with him. And that's when it began to sink in with him. For me, it was watching my twin brother go home. That was my traumatic event because like I felt in a state of depression
when he left.
So
how long were you guys together in the cell?
We were in the cell together for a total of 8 years.
8 years.
8 years.
So this whole time you were gelling for a few years, then you land on the yard with your brother. You don't settle up with him, the older one?
I settled with him too.
Okay, so
we were cellies first.
Okay.
And then my twin brother came, so it's only right that the twins go in the cell together.
Okay, that's how that happened.
And so as a big brother, he kind of like, look, you and twin need to be together. So y'all be together, and I'll move down here, down the tier.
Okay.
And so that's how he kept us together. So
he's still looking out at the end of the day too.
He was still a big brother, just on that side, right? So looking back on it, he was looking out for us, and he saved us from a lot. So me and my older brother were cellies for a year or two, off and on, and then me and my twin brother were together for almost a total of 8 years.
Same yard, same
everything.
Yard.
If one move, we all move, and that's what we did with a lot. We bounced on every yard, but together.
Did y'all have a nickname? Y'all had a nickname. Y'all were the twins.
The twins, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's like it was SB and his little brothers.
Okay, so SB was the big brother, and then the little brother. You know they're around. The little brothers are.
If you see one, you see the other ones, and that's how he moved. So it wasn't like those brothers who just on the yard. It's like we in the building together, we in the day room together, we on the yard together. Like we moved together.
So playing sports, cards, pinochle,
what's together?
Spade, you guys 3 deep all the time.
Yeah, so it's like if I'm in the dominoes and they're not, they're gonna stand there and post up and watch. Like it wasn't like we were in like seeing distance, like or it should be screaming distance. Like hey, something's going on. Like we were close enough to each other. We were always right there together. Like we didn't really travel too far alone or by ourselves in the system.
For years. That close, huh?
For years, and like one of the things my brother told me is like, we can't control the environment. So our thinking was like, we're gonna stay together. So if something happens, we're gonna lead together.
Yep.
And that's what we did to kind of like make sure we was together. Like so, if something happened, we make sure we together, bro. Because if it goes bad, we're gonna do it together. Mm-hmm. So that was our way. This is how we're gonna travel through the system without being broke up. And it worked. It worked for years, and then until transfers and parole became into play. So, my brother, my oldest brother, was transferred,
and that was just as a it's pretty standard. A lifer bounces around, or his points drop.
Most definitely. So that's something we couldn't control.
You couldn't control.
We could have controlled, committee coming up, his annual, him having 19 points being transferred to another prison. Like there was no way getting up out of that. My twin brother, parole date coming, like those things we couldn't change. And that's when like reality began to set in, like, damn, okay. Like my brother gone. It was hard on us. And then seeing my twin brother walk out the cell, like was one of the darkest days of my life. Because like you say, for so many years we were together. And I found peace and comfort in that and having somebody with me. And now here it is, like, he just gone. And he's not coming back.
One day to the next.
One day to the next. He's gone. And I was lost. I was lost. I didn't know what to do. For so long, that was my identity. As being his little brothers. Like, that was an identity.
Correct.
And so now, like, it's me. Like, I didn't know who the hell I was or where I was going to go or what I was going to do. And, like, that part right there was definitely one of the darkest times of my life because, like, here it was, like, going back to the herd and getting back in line, it wasn't an option. Like I couldn't see myself going back.
So the whole time you guys were together, did you start focusing on yourself and you started the self-help and all that and then reaching out to programs at that point, or was it after he left?
It was after he left.
Okay.
Like when it started for me after he left. But
Got you.
like I had enough like understanding to know like my brother watching over us and looking after us was like, look man, stay away from him for these reasons. Watch out for this. Don't let anybody tell you this. Like he was schooling us the whole time. And so when we began to split up and leave, I realized now like those were like valuable lessons he was teaching me, to survive in prison. So the self-hope didn't come till after they left. But once they left, I was able to start seeing around me, okay, like I need to avoid that. Stay away from drugs like that. Don't get caught up with this crew right here. I had these things, these lessons that he was teaching me all those years. I began to apply them now. Now that he was gone, okay, like in order for me to survive, don't go down that road. Try this, do that. And so that's where I found myself signing up for a college class. I remember telling my brothers, like, man, like, y'all sit in the cell all day doing nothing, hanging out. Like, go get a GED. Like, bro, go read. Man, it's like, oh, man, you tripping. Here you go again. Like, damn, man, come on, man. Go to services, man. Like, do something. And, something he said kind of hit me. It's like, bro, what you gonna do? Sit in the cell all day and do nothing? You gonna hang out? Then what? And I was like, wow, then what? And that's why I found myself, I enrolled myself into the first college course. And I was like, let me I'm a seventh grade dropout. Now here it is, like I didn't drop out because I had a learning disability. Like I dropped out because it wasn't for me. Like, the drugs and the gang can provide more. Like the school, I can't do nothing without that. So being a seventh grade dropout, and now here it is, like I got my diploma in prison. And I let me see if I can still do it.
You're capable.
Let me see if I'm capable of doing it. It was a test. Well, I can't just sit in the cell and hang out. Let me get a book. And then that's where it began for me, man. Like on the course of my transformation, also like rehabilitation. That first college course, like that did it. I'm like, well, damn, I did good. And like, the confidence came a little bit, the self-esteem, the value. Well, you know what? I'm probably not that bad. Like I do have some kind of self-worth. Yeah. Like I'm smart, I got an A. And like that's when it began to like change for me.
That validation is coming from a different place now.
That grade meant something. Like when you told you're worthless and you're gonna be nothing in life, you're destined to fail. When you get a B in psychology, you're like, well, a B?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's I held on to that. I looked like, that's pretty good. I'm smart. I got a B. And it's just like, that's where I began to find that confidence. Like that became my escape from prison.
That's when you knew like, oh, I'm doing it. I'm doing it a different way, but I'm still doing it on my own.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't need the homies to tell me I'm good or accept me. Oh, that admissions letter, that meant something. Welcome, thank you. How you doing? Need some help, let us know. Like, well, damn. Like that attention became something else. Like I can't do this. I've never done this. I don't know what this come with. Like I didn't have any examples. Like I didn't have no homies around me telling me how school was gonna work out or save me. But I knew it made me feel good about myself.
Which was pivotal.
And that's something I never felt. I never loved myself. Like I never worried about how I felt or what I was doing because I was always focused on someone else. And so when I began to kind of like think about me and like what do you like? Like, does it make you happy? Yeah. When I began to kind of like ask myself those kind of questions, I didn't have the answers then, but I knew like education, this is something that kind of make me happy. Like I feel good. I feel like I can thrive in this. And like that's where I began. That's where my journey really began. Once my brothers left though, with them there, I wasn't able to focus on that because it was always us. But with them leaving the picture, being by myself, I was able to focus outside of us, outside of myself, and that's where I found education.
Okay. So it was a blessing and a curse,
It was a blessing and a curse, man.
Yeah.
Real quick, hey, this camera
one of the cameras,
shut off. I don't know.
It did, but we're recording directly to the SSD, so those are really our backups, just in case.
Gotcha.
Oh, snap.
Right.
We're doing it like that now, huh?
So James, take note that we took a break right now to confirm that, just so we can edit that out.
To erase that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were sentenced to life. You start getting it going once your bros are gone. At what years were this? And at that time, were you hearing about people going home, especially from level 4s? People weren't going home. There was a good amount of years where people were never going home from level 4s, let alone 2s or 3s, depending on the years.
Most definitely. So that was my brother. My brother was paroled in 2015, and right. So they passed a bill called SB 260.
Okay, so that's
for 17 years 17 years old and younger, right? Being tried as an adult, man, they afford you the opportunity. If you weren't sentenced to life without parole, you give you opportunity to go to board at 25 years. The problem with that is you can't even fathom the idea of going home. Like, cause I've already accepted like life in prison. Mm-hmm. So now here it is, 2014, they telling me, hey man, in 10 years you're gonna go home. In 10 years, like I can barely see next week. So I can't even fathom the idea of going home in 10 years. So that wasn't even an option or a thought of mine because I couldn't see that far ahead. Gotcha. Like I wasn't thinking that clear. So in 2014, those laws changed. 2015, you start hearing them chatter, like they talking about it, people going home one day. I started attending workshops. Hey man, you're a juvenile lifer. One day you're gonna go home. But it's like, it's hard. So I accepted the fact that I was going to die in prison one day. And I come to a point in my life where, life in prison, I mean, you're going to die here. So I accepted that. So now here it is, you telling me, like, you're going to go home. I didn't believe it. Like, I couldn't wrap my mind around the fact that, like, one day this might be over. Let alone 10 years from now, I couldn't see that far ahead. So it definitely started then. You start hearing about it. And then you start seeing dudes that like, hey, man, he went home. Shit. But it was 2017. I was transferred to Lancaster prison, right?
How many years did you have in? Sorry.
By that time, I had 17 years in.
So 17 years in, I could see where you're definitely not like, you're like, fuck, I'm 17 in already. Like, well, ain't nobody going home.
Yeah, nobody going home. You don't see it. And also, too, it's like, if you focused on, like that's a stress and worry, too. Especially inside. If you think about going home every day, or you miss reality, you miss McDonald's, you miss these these worldly things, like it makes your time in there a little harder. So you accept life in there. Yeah. We got a yard every day. I'm going to the store on this day. I'm going to get a package this day. I get a visit on this day. Like that was my world. Until 2017, being transferred to this facility, you began to see like self-help classes. Something I didn't see. 17 years in the system, I didn't see it. Until I got to this institution, 2017, 17 years in, you got classes like victim sensitivity awareness, criminal gang members anonymous. You have healing and dialogue. You have CROP, which is an conference reaching out to people. It's a youth diversion program, right? That mentor youth.
Okay.
Like they bring youth in from the streets inside the institution and give them like real workshops.
And it seems like a pivot from the scared straight type, because we know that didn't work. So.
It didn't work. Yeah, it's definitely a pivot from the scared straight. So it's more of a mentoring, a sharing lived experiences kind of program, right? And I was fortunate to be a part of. And it was like, that was my wake up moment for sure, because here I was like trying to help 14 and 15 and 16-year-old kids. And here I was trying to answer some of my own questions. So like helping them was really helping me. And like, that's where I began to find myself. Like being a part of programs like this, where I was able to kind of like not only share my experiences, but also I began to get an understanding. And I was able to open up, and build a connection between not only people who are going through the same things like me, but also these youth who come in who dealing with the same things I had went through. And so it was 2017 that I began to kind of like involve myself in self-help programs. But it was also, and I credit victim sensitivity awareness and healing dialogue, right? Or two organizations that was dealing with, the survivors of crime and also the victims of, of crimes as well. And here it is, you began to kind of like humanize, like that person I murdered had a name. Like he was a son, he was a brother. Do you understand like the impact that you caused his family? Do you know what you took from him? And like that's when I began to understand, like, okay, not only was I trying to figure out my life and who I want to be, but also now I need to tackle the destruction I've caused in the process. Like now I need to backtrack and realize, like, well, damn, how did I get here? You know, I could give you a list of my accomplishments, but how about what you destroyed? And like that whole self-help was a process for me. Because now here it is, you're forced to not only try to understand yourself, but also you need to understand, like, you know, how your actions affect so many people that you didn't even realize. And that's when it started for me, 2017. I began to, like, you know, involve myself heavily into these programs because unlike the gang, where I was silenced on the sideline and I was scared to speak up, I had all these questions, but I was scared to ask. Here it was in this rehabilitative process of the institution that they offer. Now I'm like, I have questions. And people are willing to answer them. Or I'm going through something, I'm feeling some kind of way. And somebody's there to tell me how it is and like how I get through it. So that's what shift my, definitely my attention to like focusing here, because right here I felt like I was getting somewhere. Like right here I was growing. Mm-hmm. Right here like, I was able to mature. I was able to kind of be myself, but also I was able to begin to think for myself. Something I had never done in my life. And it wasn't until I began to involve myself in these programs that I was able to start thinking for myself. I began to question myself and not being scared to do it. And that's what really changed the trajectory of my life at that point. Thinking for myself and like having that space to where I felt comfortable doing so. Yeah. And that was new for me.
So now you start getting into this world where people are going to like the parole hearings and stuff like that, the parole board. Talk to us about your experience with that. You had a prep too for that, right? Now that you have these new views on stuff, you've been taking classes on it. What was your approach now going to the parole board? Like, how were you prepping for that?
Okay, so you know, it's that journey starts the second you commit that, like, you know, I'm gonna change my life for better. You know, I'm gonna stay out of trouble. You know, I'm gonna stop using drugs, alcohol. I'm gonna refrain from the criminal gang lifestyle. Like that commitments begin the moment you start making those choices, right? It's impossible to do two. It's impossible to say I'm ready for board because any infraction they're gonna ding you. Like that you risk a 3, 5, 7, or 10-year denial for these small rule infractions, right, from curtains and being disrespectful, talking back fights, getting high, dirty tests. Like those are things that cost you 3, 5, 7, 10-year denials. So when you make the commitment here, like that's when you're preparing for this board. And so it was 2000 and I had my last write-up in 2015. But it wasn't until 2017, I said, you know what? Like, I gotta make a choice right now. Whether I wanna go home.
There you go.
Take a chance on going home or dying here. And so I made a decision. I said, you know what, from this day forward, man, I'm gonna do the right thing. And at first it was hard doing the right thing. You know,
what does that entail? Does that mean saying no to the cell phone?
It's
doing, tucking in the shirt at chow if that's what it requires, and I get a, what kind of things?
So definitely inside. So he tells, like, when I say doing the right thing, right? It's the drugs for sure. Mm-hmm. Dirty tests, getting high and drunk, right? Because it can cost you, right? But also, like when you're in an altered state, it increases the chances of, your impulsivity or, just something happening. Mm-hmm. Also cell phones. Like, you got to understand, like, if you decide to use a cell phone, there's consequences for it. So all that laying up on a cell phone all night and making videos and surfing the web, like, that may cost you. So you have to really start considering, like, do I take a chance? Is it worth it? You have to start weighing your options now. And so when I say doing the right thing, it's weighing your options. I could get high and they're probably not gonna drug test me. But what if they do tomorrow? Like, are you willing to chance it? And it's like, okay, man, you can have that cell phone and I this wall phone, the collect call is killing me. I can't get nothing done. If you get caught with this cell phone, are you willing to spend another 5 years in prison? So doing the right thing is weighing your options.
Yeah.
Something that we never did, right? A lot of, especially inside, we never weighed our options. It's just like, you know what? We were so impulsive. Like, I don't care what the consequences, I'm just do it. But now you get to a point where you realize, like, okay, look, these choices I'm making, it can potentially jeopardize my future. You know, and although the future might be 5 years from now, it can jeopardize it. And so I came to a point right there when I started making those, like doing the right thing, like everything was, okay, man, is it worth it? You have to really sit down and talk to yourself, like, can I take a chance on this? Like, there were sometimes I took a chance, a lot of chances, but I understood the chances I was taking. And that's something I never did before. Because there's time in my life, I just did shit because I wanted to.
Right.
Like, consequences, I deal with those later. I got life in prison, like, what's a write-up? You know, it's not gonna hurt me. So I took a lot of chances. But like I say, that was something I hadn't done in my life before. I started thinking about the consequences. Like, you know, I can do this right now, but can I really call home and tell my family, like, I got 7 years denial because I wanted to smoke or had a cell phone, get caught with a cell phone?
Right.
Like, some of these things start, like, you can't really, how do you, if you weigh in your options, how does having a cell phone gonna cost me 7 more years in prison? Like, it don't make sense. So you have to begin to sacrifice these little things that you feel like is momentarily, you know, rewards or, you know, gratification. You know what? I'm willing to step back from this. That means I can have this one day. And that's how I start feeling. Like, the things that did me something to me at that time in my life or in the system, like, it began losing its effect or power on me because now the thought of going home was getting closer.
Yeah.
It went from 10 years when I first heard about it to now 6 years, and, you know, 5 years. And I was like, you know what? Damn. When you do, like, in prison, right, time means nothing, right? Because you do so much of it. Mm-hmm. You know, we waste time. So we talking about, hey, man, in 5 years from now, man, I'm going to go home. That shit seem like tomorrow. Because you don't value time. Mm-hmm. You just sitting stuck. So when I got to 5 years, I'm like, I'm going to be home in 5 years. I was talking about 5 years like it was tomorrow. Like, we got 5 years still, man, but that's soon.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, 5 summers, 5 Christmases. Like, you find a way to deal with it, get through time, right? And usually it's football season. Well, that's 5 seasons right there.
5 Super Bowls, huh?
Then I'm gonna be home, and that's when it began the process start for me.
Just like that.
You know, you mentioned family. I'm curious. Was I hope were your grandparents still around?
Yeah. So no, unfortunately, my grandfather died. My grandfather passed away.
Man.
3 months after I got arrested. So I was arrested in July 2000. He passed away in October 2000.
Way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little. It got me thinking. Like, I think he would have enjoyed seeing the Deon that we're talking with today.
Most
I think
definitely.
he really would have. If he would have had a chance to see that, he would have just been like mind blown. Like, you know, like.
And it's one of those like now I've grown up and matured, man. Like, I understand. Like I said, when I said tough love, like, I get what he was trying. He was trying.
Yeah.
He figured. He seen how my big brother went, right, and how his life ended, and he knew that was gonna be in his future. So when my brother got life in prison when I was 9 years old, my grandfather was scared. He was scared that if he did something that was gonna happen to me too, or me and my brother too. And unfortunately, like, it did happen. And so now I've seen how he was like adamant about, like, I'm gonna break you out of this. That I felt was hate. Like, it was actually love, but just in his way.
The strongest type of love. He didn't want you to go down that. He didn't know what else to do.
He didn't know what else to do, so his approach was horrible. But now I understand where it was coming from, because everything he told me came true.
Oof.
Like, everything he told everything my grandfather told me came true. But it just took for me to go through this to understand it.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, like, off the record, you're talking about, like, your kids. Like, when you 20, 30 years old, you understand it then, but today you might not get it.
Yeah.
And so everything he's told me, like, it came true, but it just didn't come not at that time. So my grandfather passed away in October, and my grandmother passed away 6 years later.
Oh, man.
And so not having my grandparents in my life, right? Like, that made it even more harder for me in prison. And like having my big brother in my life, then like I was able to kind of like I knew like that was my last person there for me. I knew, and like he was here with me, and he was trying. I could see it, and so I was definitely appreciative, you know, thankful to have my big brother in prison with me, because like understanding today, like he saved me. Cause I came in that system lost,
Right.
and I was misguided, and I was impressionable, and I wanted to be somebody, and having my brother around me, like he didn't allow that.
Mm-hmm.
Like he didn't allow me to, you know, follow through on that.
To throw yours away.
Throw miles away. And
Yeah.
at that time, I felt like he was tripping. You know, he didn't get it. But now I see like how those things he did save me.
Yeah.
You know, having him around in my life, and you asked me how was it having your brothers in prison. It was horrible, knowing that like, you know, my family was all locked up.
And you said at a point in time, 4 of you guys were all together.
So it was so we all crossed the system together once upon a time. So it was my twin brother and my other brother together in the county jail. It's me and my big brother together. It was my other brother and me passing by. Like we all crossed paths, but it was in Calipatria where my oldest brother and us two were together, like on the yard for years, right? But we all crossed each other's paths. And looking back on it, man, like that's what got me through it. Like that's what got me through it, man.
8 years is a long time to be able to be with your family like that. Like it's a long time.
Most definitely, and you think you know, once you go through it, something you never want to go through again, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like once he left, or once we got broke up, it wasn't something I wanted to do again, cause like I realized it was hard. Like it was, you know, your waking days is not just about you. You know, prison is like, man, you by yourself in here, man, you move by yourself. But not my experience was different.
Right.
Like every day I had to move with my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like one go, we all go, and that's when we just stuck by, and like that part was stressful. You know, like having them around, like always being constantly worried about them. Right, if we move, are we gonna go together? If something happened, we need to make sure we're right there together. Like that shit was stressful.
Yeah.
Because now you're trying to place yourself in situations that's not there. Like going to the yard today, bro. I want to stay in. Well, I'm going too. So now you're making yourself available for these situations just in case.
Mm-hmm.
So for so many years, I lived in a moment of just in case it go bad, it's gonna go bad together. And like that's how I spent a lot of my incarceration. So like them last 8 years I did by myself, it was a hell of a time, because like I learned so much about myself.
Yeah.
Like I learned so much about myself. Not only like did I have what it take to stand on my own too, but also, man, I had value. Mm-hmm. Like I had a story to tell. You know, I was caring. I was loving. Like all the things I realized, I discovered about myself going through this process these last 8 years, to the point where I actually started liking the person I was. I was like, well, damn, how did I give up on me? Like I started like I didn't understand how I gave
give
up.
up on you. That's deep.
Like how did I give up on me so long ago, man? And here it is now. Like I love this about me. You know, I'm caring, I'm passionate. Like, you know, I'm a hard worker. Like I'm reliable, I'm dependable. Like I started finding out these traits about myself that like, damn, like you're worth something.
Yeah.
And I began to put value. I began to place value on my life, on myself, man. And that made it easy for me to respect those around me. You know, like you understand how important it is, right? Especially like caring, being considerate, but also always being mindful of like how the choices I make can affect so many people around me, whether it be my family or someone else's family.
Right.
And those kind of things made me a better person. Like growing up these past 8 years.
So now, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, I was going to take it there. I think we're going to the same place.
Yeah.
So take us to, so it obviously worked. Those 8 years really served the purpose, because you're here now, and you were able to people don't understand. They don't just let you out. You get vetted by a jury, damn near, of
Most
however
definitely.
many people. Take us to the day of you being granted parole, having to go through the board, and then coming home, your first day.
Okay, so most definitely, you know, if people tend to think that too, man, they think just, you know, you go do between 30 years in prison, they just let you go.
Yeah, no.
And that's the total opposite of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they don't do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those, man, like you being judged all over again. You go in there, so my process started 6 years prior, man, like staying out of trouble. That's the first thing, stay out of trouble. But also, man, involving myself in not only just self-help programs, but also education, further my education. So here it is, I'm working, I'm grinding. I'm going to classes, 2-3 classes a day. I'm pursuing my bachelor's degree in communications. After being awarded my my associate's degree, like I'm putting in the work. I'm surrounding myself with positive people. We're talking about things. We're opening up. We're gonna understand how this go. I'm thinking about what kind of life I want to live after this.
Yeah.
What kind of person I want to come home to, right? And that took years. I remember I was given my parole. I was granted a parole date, and a year before the process, I started doing the work. You start writing out, doing all your insight statements, your remorse letters. You start trying to cover all the bases, because they're trying to deem are you still a threat to society.
Correct. Yeah.
Like that's their main focus of this hearing is, do you still pose a threat to society? And so my thing was, and a lot of guys who've been through it, how can I show them I'm not a threat to society? And that required, disciplinary free, doing the work, writing, being able to talk, express myself. And so I started the grind. And going in the parole board, it was an hour and a half. It was an hour and a half. And I remember going in there, I couldn't think straight. Like my mind was racing. And I wasn't scared of saying the wrong thing. I was more so scared that they'd understand who I was today. Because I went in there knowing like, hey, look, why are we here today? Like that's typically the first question they ask you. Why are we here today?
They asked you that?
Yes, that's the question they ask. Like, do you know why we're here today? And you want to say, the typical person say, well, I'm here to be found suitable for parole, or see if I'm suitable to go home or not.
Right.
And it's like you missed it.
Mm.
Like we're here today because on July 3rd, 2000, you senselessly murdered a young man.
Oh man, okay, that's the
in an attempt to take the life of his father and brother. Like that's why you're here today. Now everything you did outside of that, we can get to. But you're sitting here today because of the choices you made when you were 15 years old. And so going in there, I knew this college graduate, this facilitator, this youth mentor. Like, that's not who went in that room that day. It was that 15-year-old kid who murdered someone. Like, that's why I was there that day. And so when I went in there, that's all I thought about. Like, damn, like the awards is cool. The certifications are credible. They're knowledgeable. We give you credit for that. But like you murdered someone. So now here it is though. You do the work. You get past it. You healing. You open up, man. You address it. You write your remorse letters. Like you go through all this process that comes with this self-help program. But then you gotta be mindful of like you still that person. Like you still did that. And so now going through these processes, these hearings, like that weighs heavy on your shoulders. I did all this work, but I murdered someone. Like how can they forgive that? Like nothing I can say here today or show them today gonna change that. And so that's how I went in that hearing feeling. And so a lot of hearings about myself. How did you grow up? How did it affect you? Like seeing your mother addicted to drugs all your life. Like what did that do to you? Coming to prison with your brothers, following his footsteps. How did that do? Like what did that do to you? Coming to prison at 15 years old. How did that change you? And just it's a lot of insightful work. But it's like I was fortunate enough to where I had began doing the work through those programs, where I had began to ask myself those questions. So when they asking me, now I can give them answers. Why did I join the gang at such a young age? Not only was I looking for acceptance, but I felt unloved. But also I felt worthless. I had low self-esteem, and being a part of a gang gave me value. I felt love being around them. I felt love to the point I was willing to kill for the game. And I did. And so we talk about, was I impulsive or not? Oh, yes. I never thought about the consequences of my actions. I knew in order for me to get to where I wanted to be, I had to go through this. Like, my life was over, and I hated myself, and I wanted to be someone else. And in doing so, I had to do all these things. And unfortunately, one of them was murder. Like, I had to do that. And that's how I felt. Like, that's what I took on as a kid, with all those feelings and insecurities. You know, somehow this was gonna give me this value and validation that people were gonna respect me and love me and always want me. Like, I didn't care about who I hurt.
Crazy how something like that makes sense at that time, huh?
But yeah, like, especially as a 15-year-old, and
Yeah.
you know, today, like, even talk about my 15-year-old self, like, I'm puzzled. I'm like,
What were
how
you
did
thinking?
how did you? What made you think that? Like, how did you get to that point where you thought that was gonna be cool? And so I think about it, like, even today, you know, like, even being home now, right? I've been home 6 weeks.
So they grant you parole.
I grant me parole.
First parole board
First
hearing?
parole board hearing. I
What
got
did you
parole.
think when they said you're because you obviously have to wait what, like 30 minutes? As soon as you finish that, you gotta wait in the room,
Most
wait
definitely.
till they can call you right back in. What happens that time? As soon as they call you back in, they tell you.
So I go in there, you don't know how you did, what you said,
Right.
if what you said. They don't give you no feedback right then, and they're just like, ask these questions and okay, like, you do most of the talking. And so I remember going back into the holding tank, like, all over the place. Like, I missed this, I missed that. Like, I forgot to say this. I should have told him this.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Like, you start eating yourself up. And then I was called back in the room, and the commissioner told me, she said, like, you didn't have nothing to be nervous about today, because like, we see who you are today. Like, some people come here, like, it's not a matter of showing me anything. Like, we want to see if you understand, like, what you did and the people you hurt, or how the choices you made in your life affected so many people, including yourself. But you said, and I was taken aback and, like, surprised. She said, like, you are one of the reasons why we make these juvenile laws. Because people like you, you know, who sometimes they benefit. And I thought to myself, like, come to the system, like, we call it a graduating class, right? In the juvenile system. So, you know, when you turn 18, you graduate to prison. So we call it the graduating class. And I thought about my graduating class who came into the system with me. We were probably like 30, 40 of us, all juveniles coming to the system. And I remember I couldn't think of, like, more than 5 people who actually made it through. Like, a lot of the guys who came to the system with me, like still stuck. They're not stuck on drugs, the gangs, more new cases. Like, they stuck. And so when she told me, these laws are for people like you who take advantage of them, who really maximize the opportunity that's given to you. And, like, Mr. Whitmore, we don't know why you here, like, how you made it to this point. We're glad you did. And that right there was like, damn, I did the right thing. This is what doing the right thing pays off. Because I can't tell you 5 of the guys who came in with me who actually made it out of the system. And, like, one of the things I feel fortunate enough to do. You know, it's not 50 of me walking around right now. You know, the number of juvenile offenders coming home who actually been through the system like me, like, we didn't come home in droves. It's like, it was like a few of us.
Yeah.
And so I'm mindful of, like, I made it. So going into that tank and coming back out and her telling me, like, you're being found suitable for parole.
Is that the exact wording of it? I've always wondered.
You've
Mr. Deon Whitmore, you've been found suitable for parole?
Yes, those are the exact words. So that's what you wait to hear.
Mm-hmm.
You wait to hear, like, you know, they go to a lot of formalities, and the only thing you focus on, like, suitability. And that's what she told me, like, Mr. Whitmore, we find you suitable for parole today. We're gonna read over the formalities, And it's just like they just breeze over it like that. But the only thing I focused on was you found suitable today. And like that's where I got stuck at. And I'm like, wow, she said suitable. Damn. Like I was lost. Like I'm lost in the sense that like I didn't know how to feel. I was like, do I cry? Do I smile? You know, do I jump for joy? Like I didn't know how to feel in that moment because it was something that I never thought I was gonna have. Like although I did prepare for it, I planned for it. Like in my head, in the back of my mind, I always thought like it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen to me. Like I'm guilty. Like I wasn't just at the wrong time. I didn't just walk by and something happened. I was guilty. I was guilty for murdering someone. And so up until that point, I just thought like it's not gonna happen for me. Even after doing the right thing, it's just not gonna happen. Seeing people go home around me, I just think it's gonna happen for me. And so the commissioner telling me, hey, Deon Whitmore, you're found suitable for parole today. And she just moved on. All I could hear echoing was, you're found suitable. And
Did you question it? Like, damn, did she say what I just think she said?
I said it to my lawyer was sitting there looking. She said, Deon, you can relax a little, man. You're suitable. And I was just in a daze. I said, I didn't know how to feel. Because it's something I had never felt. Like I never felt like, I got life in prison and like I didn't feel anything, because I accepted it. And now here it is, you're telling me after 23 years in prison that we find you suitable for parole. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know how, like joy. That's something I really feel. Like that's not a feeling I felt in prison.
Yeah, for 23 years.
23 years, you don't feel joy. Joy isn't a feeling that everybody know what joy feel like in prison. Or, happy. My happiness came from doing things, but like true happiness. Like I've read books about happiness. I never felt that kind of happiness. I've been happy before, but like the true feelings of happiness. And so I didn't know how I felt. So it's just like, damn, it's really happening. And so I was released on September 8th.
So this is literally a month and a half
That's
ago
nice.
now? Something like that?
3 months. 3 months later, I was released. I was released on a Friday, like today. So I've been good Fridays for sure.
Released on a Friday. Who picked you
Yeah,
up?
who got you?
I'm hoping brother, maybe?
Brothers, they didn't come. So it was a immediate release. So my wife ended up coming to pick me up.
Okay, nice. So through this whole thing, you have a spouse, somebody that would you say wrote it out with you? We didn't get into too many.
Most definitely wrote it out with me, man. Big supporter, very big supporter, man. But also, you having someone which in your life will believe in you.
Correct.
Believe in you. That means a lot, right? So having my wife on my side as I was growing, to have her support, but also those words of encouragement. Or those, the motivation, especially when I was in doubt and questioning a lot.
Yeah.
Like having a supporter right there with me, that meant everything now. Like understanding that meant a lot to me.
What would you say, like someone that this is the way I interpret it, and this is the way I felt too with my spouse, is like somebody you can be vulnerable with, and that kind of takes you outside of the world. For that
Most
quick
definitely.
15-minute phone call or the letter, you're like, I can open up with no worry, with no,
Most definitely. So one thing you find out in there, you figure out fast is like, you can't really be yourself. Not in the system. You can't be yourself, right? But it's that one person in your life. You usually our spouse and my wife. It's like, I was able to be myself. Like you say, for those 15 minutes in that visit, it's like, I was able to kind of like, I didn't worry about, what someone thought or, how this may seem or appear. Like here it was, I had someone in my life who was genuine, who was here because she wanted to be here with me. And so I knew I was gonna get the truth. Like I knew that I couldn't go wrong expressing myself and being vulnerable. Like I didn't feel like I was gonna get hurt. And so I was able to open up more. And so my wife is definitely like, she's the first one to actually like listen to my stories, read my letters, my write-ins. Hey, what you think about this? And to have her input meant a lot because I didn't necessarily have that there. I was scared to show that side, the vulnerable side.
Yeah.
You don't really want to hey man, I'm vulnerable right now. I want to open up. Like you don't really have that safe space in there. So being fortunate to have a wife on my side who's been very supportive, like I was able to share my experiences, even my fears and doubts, and like be kind of like, hey, you good? Like just keep going. All right, tell me more about it. Talk more about it. Like what are you scared of? Right. Like that meant a lot because I couldn't do it there, and so having someone in my life who I was able to kind of share that with meant a lot to me.
That's great.
So where'd you parole from?
Lancaster.
Lancaster. So she drives out to Lancaster.
She drives out to Lancaster. She drives out to Lancaster, get me, and as I was on a bus, I see her and she nervous. She can't believe it's happening.
Oh, the little bus that just drives you to the front of the prison.
Gate, yeah, and you just jump off the bus. So I'm looking at the window of the gate, the bus, excuse me. I see her.
Just looking.
And I'm like, ooh, I'm just as nervous, right? So got out, man, got in the car, man, and drove off. I drove off.
You drove?
I drove, man.
You drove your first day?
I drove first
Bro,
day, man.
What?
Yeah, I drove first day, and I know, like, people are like, oh, you shouldn't have did it, man. You could take chances, right? So it was one of those, like I had to do it because, like, I was in control of my life.
That was the first sign of
That was the first sign of me, like.
You knew how to drive?
So I left driving. So I left driving. Like, I drove plenty of stolen cars and also, renting
That's
cars.
right.
So I had the experience, right?
Yeah,
so driving always my strong suit. So
it didn't feel like a box or something because it was 23 and that, like, now you're like motion sickness and the whole
technology.
No, it's like, I left driving buckets. So it was like, that's where the jumping, I'm in a bucket. So I was struggling. But now here it is, man. It's smooth driving. The road is nice. You just hit the gas and go.
So when you put it in reverse and you seen a backup camera pop up, what'd you say?
That was awkward. That was awkward
right?
For sure, right? So it was one of them, like, was I amazed? Yes. Driving, I was cool. I felt comfortable. Not to say I was the best driver that day, though, but, like, I had to do it. Like, I felt in control of my life. Like, sitting behind that wheel, pulling off. I'm like, man, you in control of your life now.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, like, you can't blame anyone. Excuses all on you. Like, you're responsible for how this world gonna turn out for you. And I know driving back that day, that's all I thought about to myself. I said, look, man, like, nothing's gonna stand in your way unless you allow it. Like, nobody's gonna throw you off unless you allow them to. And I had to do it. And, like, I hit the ground running. Like, I hit the ground running in the sense that I left at 15 years old. And here I was, returning 38 years old. And
so from 15 years old to 38, almost, I'm pretty sure some people won't even recognize you. Exactly. With that many years in.
Most definitely, like, it's there's so many, and that's the other thing too. Like we said before off camera, right? Like, you happy, you come home, you're excited, I'm here now. But also, like, the doubts creep in too. Yeah. Like, those doubts don't go anywhere. Like, those insecurities, they still surface, right? It's just now today, like, I'm better equipped to deal with them. But I'll be lying to sit here and say if I wasn't scared or nervous, or if I didn't doubt myself, or, I didn't have moments of insecurity. Coming back to a world where I left at 15, now I'm 38. I'm going to the banks and I don't know the questions to ask. I'm at the DMV and I don't know what it is you require of me to get an ID. Looking for jobs. Am I good enough? Am I worth it? Like, do they see any value in me? Like, I'm a college graduate. I have this resume, but you can clearly see I'm in prison. It's like all that shit surfaced. Yeah. And so being home 6 weeks, like, I'm just better equipped to deal with them now. But also the opportunity to come here and speak with you guys, like this was a test for me. Like, I've been telling my story to those who wanted to listen for a long time. But I know also the power in telling your story. And for those who are going through the same thing that I have been through or currently are going through, it's like, if you want to help and make a difference, like, share your story. Like, you like talking, So are you willing to say something that someone can help someone else?
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to, like, I don't want to tell the prison story. I've been in prison 23 years, man. I did my shit. I'm back. Like,
Oh, that's tough.
like that shit means nothing in this real world, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it does nobody. It serves no purpose. And so, like, this was a test for me. You know, being vulnerable, talking about my insecurities and things I'm going through or been through. But I knew, like, this is me being in control of my life. Like, I no longer let my fears or doubts or insecurities control me. You know, or being vulnerable doesn't shy me away or put me in a corner.
I think that's super important, and that's one of the highlights, man. A lot of people, I run into, like, I used to work a lot more with lifers, former lifers, and like I said, I think I said it before, it was always a 50-50. You get individuals that just kind of automatically write themselves off from being able to do X, Y, and Z. Then you get the lifers that are like, I don't know it, but I've been gone too long to play with it, so I'll learn it. Meaning, the cell phone, I'll figure it out. But then you get, like I said, you get some of them that are just like, I'm like, bro, you got to snap out of it, and I get it. Yeah. But like you said, and we could definitely touch on it, like, shit, you realize that you're sitting in a cell, and you're thinking of these timelines. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go to Hawaii. I'm going to get a car. I'm going to get an education. And you realize, holy shit, this timeline isn't playing out as fast as I thought. How come the time is off? And you realize this thing takes years to get going out here. It's not like a memory. The way you thought about it in there. You're like, okay, before I do that, I got to go get the ID. I have to get the social. I have to figure out how to get my Palos Verdes transcripts. I got to figure out how to enroll in college. And you're like, holy shit, but then now that's going to take me 2 years? And you're like, yeah. And then you're like, whoa, these timelines are a little skewed, you know?
Most definitely, right? And that's what you learn. You're here with reality fast, right? And that's just what happened. And that's one thing I was telling you about me coming home, like being mindful of. I understand, like I've been gone a lifetime, like literally. And so it's a difference between planning in that cell because you got time on your side. You know, you got all these elaborate, you know, ideas and dreams and I want to do this, and this. And until you get here and you realize like, well, in order to do this, and this, you have to do that, and that. Or, you know, you have to go through this. And that hit me fast. Like I say, coming home Friday, you know, came home, my family enjoyed it. Went jet skiing the next morning. Went home 24 hours. I'm on the ocean.
Quick, B, have you ever been I've never been jet skiing.
I've never been jet skiing.
That's amazing. Second day
where'd
out.
You do that out of?
Down at we down there, Balboa.
Damn, man.
Balboa,
You're
the
in a
ocean.
nice spot.
We went out in Balboa out there, man. Like on the jet skis, man, and being on the water on the jet ski felt free. I'm gonna tell you another story about that too later, on the other half of this. But I go out there, right? So by the time I'm home, like the 5th day, Tuesday morning come, I'm like, you know, I clean up the house. I'm moving around. I'm, you know, looking for shit to do. I have a phone. Who do I call? And it's like, okay, now what you gonna do?
Ooh.
Like, okay, like you home, now what you gonna do now? And like, so those moments of, you know, those joy, they were quickly like, you know, replaced with reality. Like, hey, like you don't got an ID, you don't got a social, you don't got a credit card. You know,
that's a big one,
you
right?
Bank.
Cash, who's using cash nowadays?
You're like, what you gonna do? Like, you know, nobody take, like, you know, the cash you got, everybody damn near like card. Like, can you swipe a card? No, I can't go. Well, we won't take your cash, sir. Like, well, damn, you got an account? So like you began to go through this quick. And that's when you see, it was like, I didn't experience the pressure of like catching up. But like mine's more so came from getting my life in order. It's like, hey man, you want to drive, get your license. You know, you want to go somewhere, you need an ID. So all the things I want to do is like, hey, look, that takes a week. This takes 2 weeks. Go stand in that line over there. Like the pressure came from me wanting to get my life in order. You know, like no longer a 15-year-old, 38 years old, man. You're supposed to have your ID. You're supposed to have a license. You're supposed to have your social security card. These are responsibilities that a man is supposed, a adult is supposed to have. So what people may think is like, hey man, you're doing this stuff, man. You out here, you getting it going. Like, no, I'm not. I was supposed to have this already. Like I didn't take credit in that. That wasn't Like getting my license in, so I got my license in 10 days. I was home for 10 days. I got my driver's license.
Driver's license. Okay.
10 days.
It's amazing.
I passed the test in 7 days. 6 days, and I got my driver's license my 10th day. Literally my driver's license. So, but it was like I didn't feel the like accomplishment in that, but it's like you're supposed to do that.
You're supposed to have.
Yeah, like this is like don't feel like this is where it stopped. Like, oh man, I did my stuff out here. I got my L's and my ID. I'm straight.
Yeah.
Like, nah, man. That's only the beginning for your adult. Like, that comes with responsibility, man. You're supposed to do that. And so the pressure just the pressure came on with that, being responsible, like being a father, right? Having to provide. I'm a father.
Okay.
I have a 7-year-old son who has autism, right? And that in itself is a motivating factor for me to
Correct.
For me to get it together, right? So a lot of my push and my strive right now and purpose is like I'm responsible for him, but also I have to make a better way for him too. All right, so I have to I have to get it together, right? Failure is not an option for me because I have him like dependent on me, and I know it's like he's only gonna go as far as I take him, and so that's one of my main things and purposes. Like me out here today, like 6 weeks out, and I'm pushing and running
6 weeks
because like I have responsibilities already.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't fortunate to come home and have my mom or father there. I can just sit up in the house and kick my feet up and take 2 or 3 months to figure it out. Like I wasn't afforded that luxury. I came home with responsibility and people depending on me, and that makes me my push even more that meaningful because like I have to get it right, and I plan on getting it right, not only for myself though, but those that's dependent on me. And like my son is definitely someone that I know is counting on me.
And the dope part about that is you're equipped with the skills that you need to be able to manage this transition. Right. You've been through too much. You've wasted too much time in prison. There's no way. Everything out here is forward momentum. Don't look at it as in like I'm stagnant.
Yes, sir.
What's the saying? The worst day out here is not as bad as a day in prison. So
right about that.
I used to tell people I can sleep at the park and be comfy because I get to wake up when I want, go where I want to go. I'm not in jail.
Yeah.
So one thing that we chopped it up about, and I know that you're equipped with a pretty solid background resume. When you paroled with a bachelor's degree, and an associate's,
studies.
Right?
So I've had my associate's degree, social and behavioral science, arts and humanities from Coastline Community College. I got in there, and also I graduated from Cal State LA in October 2021. I received my bachelor's degree in communications.
There we go.
That's
and
prior
to being released, I enrolled in the master's program over at Dominguez. Right, they offering us a master's in the humanities. It's very limited, and that's all they gave us. But I came home already involved in the program over there. So currently, I'm pursuing my master's from Dominguez Hills in humanities. Next semester, I'm gonna opt out and pursue it in public health.
Okay.
And apply my degree in public health. So I feel I can do a whole lot more in that field, being it's so broad.
Yep.
So coming home in a master's program, a son, been gone for 23 years.
Yeah, right.
Oh, it's definitely challenging and intimidating for sure.
It's nuts. You're a living example of someone that you could really say it's not too late. I could do it. Like it's not too late because that's one thing that probably everybody thinks. Even the youngsters that may not be part of the reentry field or anything like that, that may be listening in right now. I mean, at 20-year-old, 21, you're stuck sometimes like thinking, damn, I don't have nothing set up. You are at what age right now? You are 30, 38, and you are figuring out now you know what you want to do, and now you're going to go back to school. It's never too late. You can always keep doing and grinding. Just be mature and know that you got to do it independently for what you got going on.
Most definitely, right? And that's the biggest, I definitely promote higher education because, it opened doors for us, right? Especially, and, I hate to use stereotypes, right? But, the black and brown community, it's for some reason, man, they told us education was a waste of time. It wasn't for us, right? So, we see the effects of that today.
As far as career-wise in the public realm, or you talked about also doing public speaking and stuff like that too. Talk a little bit about that?
So public speaking is something I'm passionate about, especially in this in youth mentoring. Like something I definitely want to take serious, right? So I'm looking forward to it. So in the public health field, like probably because I've been plagued by it a lot. Like I've also suffered from addiction and mental health issues, but also like the system. Like those are two fields that are intertwined, should be intertwined with one another. Addiction treatment and mental health, and I felt like I can relate. Watching my mother battle with addiction, my own personal battles with addiction and mental health, but also like the system, like friends and family, like it's rampant. And I feel like sharing my story, also just like what I went through, like how they can better kind of like deal with it. And a lot of that comes through like dialogue. Dialogue is like a power in addressing a lot of those issues, addiction and mental health. And so I definitely want to use my I'm planning on using my degree in public health to like kind of like cater to this field right here, this reentry field, but also just underserved populations where addiction and mental health is rampant. Like coming home now, seeing it like homeless all over the place, right? So it's something that like it's an area that I can feel like I can make a change in, and so that's why it's important. I can come in and like get a regular job as a substance abuse counselor or a case manager. I could do all that, but in order to like make real change, like I have to come in from the top. And so having that master's in public health, it would ensure me like, administration kind of level. Like they'll listen. But also not only would they respect me for having an education and being in a room with them, but also like once they hear my story on why I feel it's necessary to try this approach, I feel it gives me own credibility. So that's something I definitely look forward to doing with my MPH. And it's a lot of work to be done out here. So that's why I'm excited about it. And so public health is something that I just love doing. So I don't look at it as necessarily a job, but it's something I'm interested in, and definitely I felt like sharing my story can help a lot of people. And I was saying about the education, like why it's so important for me, right? Because there is a younger crowd. Listen to this podcast in the system are unsure, like, what to do with their life, like I was and like so many of us are.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you can bang, you can lose your life, some people die, spend lifetimes in prison, come home. But it's like I want to show that you have options. Like me sitting here today is understanding like there were options in place that I didn't take advantage of, but they can. And so, like, that's why I'm so freely and open to share my story and what I've been through, because I understand like this can help someone, right? And so I promote higher education, the power of dialogue, but also, man, expressing yourself, thinking. These are all the kind of things that I'm like, telling my nephews and brothers around me. Like my brothers, I said, they're still around, right? And like being the first college graduate in the family.
Nice, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you for that. Being the first college graduate in the family, so I have my youngest brother, Daniel. He recently graduated. He got his BA. He got his AA. He's going for his BA. And then my little brother Keandre, who linked us up, man, he got his BA. So just kind of like setting that tone for my little brothers, man, like mean a lot to me, man, because, my twin brother, I misguided. Like, I understood I influenced him. But now here I got two little brothers who I'm positively influencing their lives. Like, hey, man, education. I'm promoting education every chance we get. So kind of like kick it off. Like being the first one, like means a lot. Because now I have two little brothers who follow in education as well. And it's going to save us, man. But also like little homies, there's still guys within this gang criminal lifestyle who's searching and looking. And so to be an example to them, people who need it, right? So like, you want to help someone, you want to help those who need it, not those who can use more of it. You want to help those who need it. And so me coming home, man, not only show them like, man, people do change.
Yeah.
I'm not that same person who went in at 15 years old, the person you heard so many stories about, or you think is this. Like I'm coming home responsible, man, like educated, like and like I'm trying to advise them and encourage them to do the same, because like you have a choice. And a lot of your choices are gonna come with consequences.
Mm-hmm.
But you can right now you're in a position where you can pick and choose how you deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to be that story too. I know I dressed up today and shit because I took this serious, man. But I want to let you know, I understand the struggle still. And me being here today, sitting in this seat, isn't me to say my way is better than your way, or you should try this or do that, or this is what you're doing wrong. By no way or no means am I trying to convey that message. My thing is like the day gonna come, we have to make a choice. It can be today or 17 years later, like I just spent in prison, before I make a choice of I'm doing something that's best for me. And that's why I'm here, and that's why that's the message I want to convey to this audience and this crowd who's watching. And like you can be sitting here in the sense that man, you can make it out.
Yeah.
You don't got to be trapped forever, unless you choose to. And if that's what you choose to do, then that's your choice. But the day gonna come when you understand there's more to it what you think right now. Mm-hmm. And whenever that day do come, not only are the people willing to help you, but it starts with helping yourself.
100%.
Yeah,
man.
I love that. We don't emphasize that enough. That no one can help you if you don't want to help yourself yet. You got to snap out of it. Once you're ready, you'll realize a lot more doors will open up.
Definitely.
We appreciate you for being here and sharing your story too. I think today, a lot came out today, that some stuff that we never heard before, and I'm excited to be able to share that with the world, man. And hopefully we can have you back in the future too to talk some more, because you do sound like a mentor. You do sound like someone that's been through it. That's because you have.
Yes, sir.
And you're doing it already. And you already sound like a man that has got his master's already. And I like that. That's tight.
I'm telling you, that whole look, that's
yeah.
That's what it should be. That's sharp. If that's what you do, I mean, it looks, you don't not look at a place not one bit. It looks like you could be a owner of some type of big company or a whatever. It's not like sometimes we think in our heads I look at it, maybe I shouldn't. No, you're owning it. You're rocking it. That's
Yes, sir.
It could also be the idea of what people say. You look good, you feel good, and you play good.
Yes, most definitely, man.
That contributes to the type of outcomes that you want, 100%. If I was going, I definitely wouldn't dress like this. When I first, same thing. I'm everywhere. Khaki, what are those chinos?
Yeah, T looks ratchet half the time. No, I'm playing, bro. Chill.
But yeah, something popped into my head. I'm just curious. Maybe, hopefully, people that are going to be watching. Did your older brother ever go to board and maybe get that second chance as well?
So currently, right now, my oldest brother is pursuing his education. Right, he's going for his bachelor's degree right now. Right, something
inside or outside?
Inside.
Okay.
Inside. So as of right now, he has an LWOP sentence.
Life without.
There's a good chance with everything with the laws changing right now. LWOP's gonna have action at parole board soon.
Really?
Yeah. So within the next, everything in place right now within the next year. Within the next year, man, things are gonna be changing for them.
Within the next year is very, very, very soon.
It's very soon, yeah. So like I say, he's preparing himself. He's preparing himself for parole board, which I believe he's gonna get. He's gonna get in the next in the next few, man, and I'm excited about it. And excited to support him, but also just be a positive influence out here on him, right? Yeah. He tell me often, although he is the big brother, man, he's motivated and inspired by the things I do, right? Especially for someone's education and handling my business. So I know this right here is a moment for all of us, especially all my brothers. And so he's definitely looking forward to it. But his time is gonna come soon.
I love it, man. I love it. Your brother's in your mind. You haven't forgot about him. He's striving to better himself and do what he needs to do. And I've personally worked with a few LWOPs, so they're letting them out little by little, probably way slower than a lifer with the possibility.
Yes, sir.
But they're still coming home. So and it's just like you said, a matter of putting in that work and going through with it.
Most
whether
definitely.
It's a degree, whether it's the self-help groups, going through with it, doing what you got to do.
Definitely, man, and that's what's coming, man. But I look forward to sitting down with you guys in the near future, man. Once it's 6 weeks out here, man. Definitely follow up on this journey of mine, man.
It's gonna be a journey. 100% want to do. We're open to. We have a couple cats that are. We haven't put it on the internet yet, but we're looking to kind of do part 2s or just
Okay.
follow-ups of the beginning guests that we had. For the same reason, we realized some of them we did, a week out, month and a half out, 2 months out,
Yeah.
which is fresh. It's been a year, technically. October. What would we say? September.
about
The
October,
podcast
yeah.
has been going on for a year.
Okay.
So we're like, and we still have access to the guests, and luckily everyone that we've interviewed is still doing well, or at least, again, you don't have to have it all figured out, but they're at least still headed in the right direction.
Most definitely.
And definitely, that is definitely an option that we want to kind of implement. Do part twos, follow-ups.
Oh yeah, I'm
So,
looking forward to it, man. Like I
yeah.
say, there's great things in the future, man. I see it, I feel it, and definitely public speaking is one of them, man. So I'm looking forward to building the brand up, man. Like taking this serious. Like I say, today was my test, and I felt like you guys made it easy for me, man.
You passed
Y'all
with
made
flying
it,
colors.
yeah,
We
y'all
ain't
made
had
it
to do
smooth
nothing.
for me, man. I'm gonna keep it real with you, man. So like just getting a feel for the room, man. Like I say, this was coming in, the lights, the cameras, like it's a lot. It's a lot, right? But it's just like, what you got to say is the most, like that's what mean the most. So that right there meant nothing, like having this conversation right here. So I feel comfortable in this space, man, and I'm definitely looking into building the brand up and really taking this serious, man. Like this youth mentoring or just the public speaking. So I'm looking forward to coming back, man, giving y'all that follow-up interview, man. So I appreciate it for the opportunity, for having me, inviting me to y'all space, man. Like it was a wonderful space too.
Nah, thank you for again blessing us with the interview and again fresh out. I know it's not easy. A month and a half after 23 years, not easy to step in these type of spaces. But I'm glad you're putting your best foot forward and you're making the attempt to get out there, to network, to make it happen. So with that being said, Reentry Network Podcast, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Everything helps. If you guys enjoy my boy D's interview, drop a comment, man. Show it in the comments. Show some love. With that being said, Reentry Network Podcast, we out. Shout out.
Let's go.
Let's get it.
Let's go, man. Good shit. Good.